An evening at the Ernieside Inn. Intro. I currently work in an event center located out in the countryside called the Morning.
An evening at the Ernieside Inn. Intro. I currently work at an event center located out in the countryside called the Sunnyside Inn. They host all sorts of things from weddings, parties, and even banquets. I work as a valet/dishwasher since I'm one of the guys. The girls, they set up tables and bring out food to the guests. For most of the time, along with one or sometimes two of the other guys, we're usually downstairs in the kitchen doing dishes. Towards the end of the night, once the guests leave, we go upstairs and move tables so we can clean the floors. I was scheduled to work one cold Saturday night in December for some Christmas party. I put on my uniform, which involved a white button-up shirt, bow tie, and then I headed on out the door. The situation. Like I said, I put on my uniform and headed on over to the remote country road until I had arrived. Employees had to arrive an hour early before the guests set up. I got out of my car, clocked in, and headed on down to the kitchen to bring up some plates. You see, there are actually two kitchens where I work. That is, there's the upstairs kitchen, which is where the chef prepares the food, which is lively and always has people coming in and out of it. Then there's the downstairs kitchen, which on the other hand, is often very lonely and frankly, quite creepy. I always keep thinking I see a shadow or something moving out of the corner of my eye. The kitchen is typical looking and always has those fluorescent lights that make the constant buzzing sound. The situation, part 2. I flicked on the kitchen lights and took up plates for dinner, which only took about 2 minutes. After that, I got pretty bored as my coworker who's supposed to work that night hadn't yet shown up, and that person was Frank Wormings. "Frank, you're supposed to work tonight. Where are you?" I texted him.
Just beating my dick. You should get tickets to the game.
He texted back. Okay, fine, Frank. I guess there's not too many people here tonight, so I can handle it myself. It was true. The party that evening was only 61 people, so it'd be a piece of cake finding coverage. Knowing I'd be all on my own that night, I began filling up the sink for the night's dishes. I was low-key dreading closing the kitchen that night, as I'd be the only one down there, and closing the kitchen involves turning off all the lights, and believe me, it gets creepy down there, as the downstairs area involves a series of hallways and miscellaneous rooms. It was like a maze down there, but anyway, a few minutes later, I got a text from my phone. A pit of dread formed in my stomach when I saw that it was an Instagram message from no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. Finding coverage, part 2. I opened the message and read it. So, here's what it said.
See you working tonight, Nick.
It read,
Hey, Frankie, is it coming in?
"Yes, how did you know that?" I replied. I then heard knocking come from one of the windows in the storage room that was in the back. I went over to check it out. I found Herbert waiting for me at said window. It was all the way dark outside now, so you could just barely see him. His triple chin was mostly what was visible, as were his eyes.
Let me guess,
Herbert said. No, absolutely not, I told him firmly. Finding coverage, part 3. But it was too late. Herbert was already on his way, running up the hill towards the front entrance of the building. I already knew what he was doing. He was going to ask the manager working that night if he could come lend me a helping hand in the kitchen. I was worried, because the manager working that night was super chill and really didn't give a fuck about who was working, as long as the evening's tasks were complete. And if we needed coverage, he was always well known for lowering his standards and accepting help. "Hey Nick, I got some coverage for you," the manager shouted from upstairs. "Okay," I unenthusiastically replied. That was when I heard it. The low rapid sound of footsteps making their way downstairs. It was weird because they put both feet on each step rather than simply walking down one step at a time like a normal human being would. The entity made it down the steps and rounded the corner next. It was no one other than Herbert Ernie himself. Coverage found.
Hello, Nick. Good, come and help,
said Herbert. I'd rather work this night alone, Herbert. Please leave. All you'll do is ruin the night and get me in trouble, I replied.
Nonsense, Nick. Everybody knows that I used to work in a restaurant, and I ran quite the show when it came to washing dishes. So different back in there. My name is Dishman Ernie, and it is my sole honor and duty to ensure that by the end of the night, every single dish is squeaky clean,
Herbert stated. Herbert, you're just gonna make washing the dishes harder, I stressed.
Nonsense now, Nick. It might be a bit of a risk, but once I get warmed up, you'll hear me flying these pipes around like Legos,
Herbert explained, whatever that meant. Herbert's appearance. Herbert looked more ridiculous and crazy than ever before. I already showcased a vague animated image of Herbert Ernie on one of the other slides, but I'll go into more detail here. He wore a gray, white, and butler's outfit with a black dress pants and Irish tap dance shoes on his feet. He had shaved all his head to the point where he was practically bald. Warts and dandruff were all that took residence on his chubby, pale scalp. Drool oozed from his mouth, and his eyes were stained yellow and brown with who knows what. His eyes were beady and reeked of a scent consisting of toilet paper, toilet water, and cheese. Getting to work. Okay, Herbert, fine. But just do what I say and be good, I told him. First, you need to go up and check all the bathrooms to make sure that they have toilet paper, soap, and paper towels. Herbert gave me a salute before taking upstairs to where the main bathrooms were. That should get him out of my hair for a while, I thought to myself. While Herbert was doing that, I went to set up a trash bin with a contractor bag to scrape the food scraps into. The way the dishes were done where I worked is first you'd scrape the food off the plates. Then you scrub them into the sink with warm, soapy water before putting them into a high-powered dishwasher. Then you set them out on a towel to dry before putting them away. After I set up the trash bin, I figured that the other workers may need some help setting up upstairs, so I went to help them. Herbert's first warning. I came up into the main dining area to set up tables. By now, the first of the guests were beginning to shuffle through the doors. I then realized that there weren't any guests. Rather, the Christmas party for the Wokedale Bears football team. There were only a few of them that had arrived at that time. However, I continued helping set up the tables for the next 10 minutes, that is. Man, Herbert's taking quite a long time inspecting those bathrooms, I thought to myself. Maybe I should check in on him. I then made my way on over to the bathrooms. I immediately knew that I had made a mistake letting Herbert be unsupervised, as soapy water was now leaking out from underneath the bathroom door. I was also accompanied by the faint sound, but muffled sound from inside the bathroom as well. I heard the sink faucet running. Oh no, this cannot be good, I thought to myself. Herbert's first warning, part 2. Herbert, what's going on in there? I called as I banged on the door to the bathroom.
Nothing, Nick. Just fixing a few little leaky pipes,
Herbert replied. We don't have any leaky pipes, I responded. I then attempted to barge through the door, but Herbert had locked it. Herbert, you let me in right this instant, I demanded.
Never,
Herbert replied. That was it. I had to bust down the door on him. I took a few kicks, and then was able to get inside. Herbert, what have you done? I exclaimed. Herbert's first warning, part 3. The bathroom blowout. As soon as I opened the door to the bathroom, warm, soapy water flooded out into the hallway, and I got my shoes soaked. I looked in the bathroom and witnessed a water spout shooting out of the toilet like a fountain. On top of that fountain sat Herbert.
Whee!
Herbert exclaimed. Turns out, Herbert had busted some pipes. I got the manager, and him being as chill as he was, only gave Herbert a warning. I'll give you a slide this time, buddy. 3 strikes, and you're done. That's 1 strike, the manager said. Next, the manager and I spent the next half hour cleaning up Herbert's mess. Herbert, instead of helping clean, was sent down to the kitchen to get started on dishes. I knew right then and there that this was going to be a long shift. A relief break. I quickly ran back downstairs and into the kitchen before Herbert could ruin anything down there too. When I got down there, though, I was relieved to discover that Herbert was nowhere to be seen. I didn't care where he went, as long as he was out of my hair and was being good. Then I'd be fine. Little did I know that letting Herbert wander off unsupervised would be a huge mistake. Anyway, I got started on the dishes next. By that time, all the guests had likely arrived, so dish mode would be in full swing. Not that it was really that bad, as there weren't that many people that evening, and the dishes were piled up pretty much to the maximum that they'd be that night, so it was easy. Scavenger hunt. I continued cleaning dishes for another hour and a half. I had no clue where Herbert went. Just then, the manager called from upstairs saying that Herbert and I could take our dinner break. We could go upstairs to make ourselves a plate, since the guests had finished eating. We would have to eat in the downstairs break room, however, which is for the employees, though this break room, in reality, was just some creepy storage closet in the basement with a table where they had the uniforms hung up at. Before I went to eat, I figured that I should probably go and find Herbert. "Herbert!" I called. "Herbert!" I got no response. I did, however, hear the sound of scurrying coming from up in the dark hallway that began on the other end of the kitchen. I reluctantly knew that I had to go and check it out. Scavenger Hunt, Part 2. "Herbert!" I called out again as I stepped into the hallway. The hallway was really located deep in the basement of the Sunnyside Inn, and it was really dark and really narrow. It almost resembled more of a creepy tunnel than a hallway in the traditional sense. That's when I saw it. Standing in the crab pose at the very end of the hallway was the silhouette of Herbert Ernie. I could hear his heavy breathing echoing down from the corridor as he just stood there doing absolutely nothing, watching me. Scavenger Hunt, Part 3. "Herbert?" I said, confused. For some reason after I said that, I glanced behind me. When I looked back, though, Herbert was gone. What the fuck? I thought to myself. I went back into the kitchen and immediately got a gut feeling about where Herbert might be. I walked over to the giant metal door of the kitchen's walk-in fridge and opened it up. Herbert was the first thing I saw upon entering. He stood in the crab pose and now had a bit of frost forming on his triple chin and on his pot belly.
"It's the frostiest time of the year. Greetings, Nick. How do you like the new cool vibe? Perfect for the holidays,"
Herbert said as he greeted me. "Herbert, stop messing around," I told him. "Come on, it's time to eat dinner."
"Sounds like a fine plan to me, Nick. We have important way of duties, and we all need our grub,"
Herbert replied. Dinner break. Herbert and I went upstairs to get ourselves some dinner, some leftovers from the main kitchen where the chef was. The dinner he prepared that night consisted of roast turkey, mac and cheese, and bread rolls. I grabbed mostly turkey, but Herbert grabbed mostly mac and cheese. He grabbed a lot, too, a heaping pile. Herbert and I went back downstairs and into the guys' break room. Herbert sat down and literally vacuumed up his mac and cheese, I kid you not. And yeah, for real, his mouth actually made the sound of a real vacuum cleaner as the food is inhaled using some sort of creepy Ernie suction technology.
Nick, this meal will help fuel our evening,"
Herbert said. Back to work. "Okay, Herbert, I have to go and help the people upstairs clear off glasses from the tables. I need you to finish this pile of dishes, okay?" I said. Herbert's face lit up as I said this.
"No need to worry, Nick. You can count on me. Once I'm through with these dishes, I'll be on a whole new level of squeaky clean,"
Herbert explained. I had a bad feeling about leaving Herbert to do the dishes unattended, though, but, it's whatever. I know that what he's been wanting to do all night, but I couldn't help not to worry. Not much I could do, though, as, for now, I was heading upstairs to help clear the dishes from the tables. The football team was just still chilling around, having a good time. I obviously recognized most of the people on the team since they were from my school. "What's up, bro?" a voice said. It was Chad Dwalski, the chillest and most athletic guy at my school, I think. "Yo, Chad, how's the football season going?" I asked him.
"Well, I think safe to say that the Brew Ball season's been a massive success for the Canes. And now this brolicious food at the Christmas party Sunnyside Inn is here to refuel them,"
Chad explained. "Chad, I don't think ice cream sundaes are the best Gaines grub," I replied. It was true. The entire football team is now having ice cream for dessert.
"Well, bro, this ice cream is made from top-of-the-line dairy, and dairy is a great source of protein. Calcium is well for the bones,"
Chad explained. I then peeked into the kitchen and witnessed the top-of-the-line dairy that Chad was talking about. The ice cream was from a local gas station. Definitely nothing homemade or any of that matter.
Well, catch you later, bro,
said Chad. Alright, Chad, have a good one. I gotta get back to work, I told him. Herbert's second warning. I was helping the workers upstairs clear tables when I heard a loud crash come from downstairs in the kitchen, followed by a faint and snarkish, "Oh shit, I gotta run," I told some of the coworkers / the manager. They immediately understood. I raced down the steps in a major hurry. "What the fuck did you do this time, Herbert?" I groaned to myself. I rounded the corner and stepped into the kitchen. It was bad. Herbert was currently in the process of juggling like 7 plates at once. He was not very good at it either. He could not juggle because he kept on dropping them. Each time he dropped one, he let the entire stack of 7 fall and break on the floor. He then grabbed a new stack. "Herbert, stop! You're breaking all the plates!" I exclaimed. Herbert's second warning, part 2.
Yep. Nick, well, let me see. We're just practicing my juggling skills. The circus is coming into town tomorrow. In a minute.
Herbert explained. I didn't even bother with talking with him anymore. I simply took off running down the creepy hallway in hopes to find the manager to report another Herbert incident. In hindsight, I probably should have just ran back upstairs the way I had came from, but no. Now I was balls deep in the middle of this hallway that seemed to go on forever. I was speed walking and jogging at that moment, but I picked up my pace to a full-on sprint when I glanced behind me and witnessed Herbert Ernie coming down the hallway after me. He wore 2 uncooked hot dogs on the bottom of his feet and was using them like ice skates. They sent him flying down the hallway at an alarmingly fast rate. "Oh shit," I thought to myself. I ran down the corridor until I finally made it to the end door that emptied out into the downstairs reception area. Herbert's second warning, part 3. I burst into the reception area after being in that nightmare hallway with Herbert and his hot dog skates. I knew that God had saved me when the manager and I just happened to be down there and setting up chairs for the event the following evening. I ran over to him and began explaining what was going on. Turns out I didn't need to, because just then, Herbert bust out of the reception area and into the reception area, hot dog skates still on and everything. The manager took one look at him, and believe me, 100%. He followed me back into the kitchen and was in shock when he gazed at the vast array of broken plates lying on the floor from Herbert. "Herbert, that's strike 2. One more strike and you're done," the manager said. Only strike 2? He should have just fired Herbert right then and there. Now he's simply allowing yet another opportunity for Herbert to potentially ruin the night. Laying down the line. Yet again, the manager and I went up to clean up Herbert's mess. Once the plates were clean, it was up to myself to lay down the line with Herbert once and for all. "Okay, Herbert, that is 2 steps too far," I said. "I need you to wait in the storage room for the rest of the evening. You've been too bad." I expected friction between my orders and Herbert's plans, but instead, I was met with this.
"Sounds like a plan to me, Nick,"
Herbert responded.
"I just went to be getting at my manager. Besides, I need my wrist to perform at the circus tomorrow."
Herbert then disappeared down the hallway towards where the big storage room was. I clapped my hands together in relief. Finishing up the night. By then, I had finished all the dishes, and it was time to finish helping people upstairs clean up. I had to bring up the mop bucket from the storage room. However, first, I went into the room and witnessed Herbert, reclined in a beach chair that seemed to pop up from nowhere. He was now shirtless, revealing his chubby, pale potbelly and a Hawaiian-themed swim trunks he had on his legs. He wore a pair of cheap sunglasses on his head, and was also sipping on a plastic cup of lemonade. Kinda creepy the way he just sat there. Anyway, he hadn't seemed to have noticed me yet, so I grabbed the mop bucket and left the room before he did. Finishing up the night, part 2. I brought the mop bucket upstairs and began cleaning the floors. By now, the entire football team had gone home, and the only people left in the building were the employees. Just then, the chef called from the kitchen.
"Hey, who the fuck ate the rest of the ice cream cake? I was supposed to bring it home to my family,"
he shouted. I knew for a fact that none of us had taken it. My immediate suspicions were placed on Herbert, but when I was on my way back downstairs to the storage room to catch him red-handed, I then heard a faint but high-pitched come laughing from underneath the stairs. A new culprit. I went into the kitchen. In the back corner of the room was a small door that allowed one to go underneath of the stairs if need be. And that's when I went, or where I went. When I peeked my head under the stairway, I was initially greeted with a faint glow from a TV screen, lighting up the dark space. I looked more closely and realized that it was the screen from an Xbox. I could then see the dark silhouette of a chubby, buzzed head sitting in front of it. Whoever the person was with the chubby buzzed head appeared to be playing Roblox. I flicked on the light, only to reveal Frank Wormings. He had snuck his Xbox under the stairs of the Sunnyside Inn and was chowing down on the chef's ice cream cake. "Frank, what are you doing? I thought you were at the sports game tonight," I said. The story's not adding up." Frank squeaked in response.
Well, the game was cancelled, so I came here to play some Xbox instead.
"Under the stairs? Why are you not... why aren't you working, bro?" I asked him. "This is not adding up whatsoever."
Yeah, I was at home, but I decided I did want some ice cream cake,"
Frank replied. Just then, the manager, along with the chef, busted through the door that led to under the stairs and gasped. "My ice cream cake!" the chef exclaimed. "Frank, what are you doing? You're supposed to be working tonight," the manager exclaimed. "Goodbye, Mr. Wormings." Frank then began to laugh frantically. He cackled. "Frank, you're fired," said the manager. "First you skip work, then you steal the ice cream cake."
Okay,
Frank replied. Frank packed up his Xbox and went on home. I guess he'd have some explaining to do to his family about why he lost his job that evening. Something told me that Frank never actually went to a sports game that night. Rather, it was just an excuse, you know. The close call. The manager then went on to tell me some words. "All right, Nick, since your buddy Frank's gone, I think you'll be needing a helping hand," the manager said. My heart skipped a beat when he said this. "Come on, let's go find that Herbert lad for you. We'll see if he wants to work here full-time." That really isn't a good idea," I replied. That's a bunch of nonsense. Lad just needs some time to warm up. Then he'll be one of our hardest workers," the manager responded. Little did the manager know, though, and was about to find out, was just how wrong he'd be. The Close Call, Part 2. The manager and I made our way back into the storage room where Herbert was last seen. What we saw, though, was not Herbert lounging around beach-style like before, rather on his way upstairs. "Oh shit," I said. The two of us ran upstairs after him. What we witnessed next would stick with us for the rest of our lives. Herbert was in the process of scrubbing the floors whilst dancing. He had 2 large sponges attached to his feet, and was wearing a flapper dance dress from the 1920s. The night is saved. Herbert was using the sponges attached to his feet to dance and clean at the same time. Normally, this would be good and productive. Only that Herbert wasn't using soap to clean the floors, no. Rather, he was using a mix of dirty dishwasher, lemonade, and dead bugs. His dance is also really weird and creepy as well.
Scrub, it's lemon rip, gotta make it in now.
Herbert inquired. That was it, the final straw. The manager got on his phone and called the cops. 5 minutes later, and then the police arrived, and Herbert was taken away. I simply went on home and called it a night. That then concludes an evening at the Sunnyside Inn.